Hey YouTube, Week here, bringing you all an update to my Argostars Yugioh deck profile for post-Duelist Advance. We have the newest Xyz monster for the Argostars deck, giving us the lineup for the continuous trap deck that focuses on being able to summon out our different Argostars monsters, with Adventurous Orion being the newest addition to the deck. So a fun kind of control playstyle kind of deck. You can mix it around with other decks, including the Odeon deck, but for today we're focusing on more of a pure playstyle of the deck to use with all of our different Argostar monsters and traps. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the Argostar monsters, we're running 3 copies of Argostars Glorious Ardra. With this card during your opponent's turn, if you control a continuous trap, quick effect, you can banish this card from your hand, make the attack of one monster on the field 0 to the end of this turn. If this card's normal summon, this turn your opponent cannot activate card or effects in response to the activation of your continuous traps or their effects. You can banish this card you control to place up to 2 Argostar continuous traps with different names from your hand and or deck face up in your spell and trap card zone. You can only use this effect of Glorious Ardra once per turn, but that setup being able to have the additional play for your Argostar cards, which we'll go over when we get to the actual trap lineup itself in the deck. And then the only other main deck monster we run for the Argostars include the 3 copies of Argostars Fierce Parth. You'd gain 700 attack and defense for each Argostars monster with different names you control, except this card. You can only use each of the following effects of Argostars Fierce Parth once per turn. Quick effect, you can reveal this card in your hand, return 1 Argostars continuous trap you control of the hand, and if you do special summon this card, you can banish this card you control to set 1 continuous trap from your hand, and it can be activated this turn. So just added setup for your continuous traps, but that can also work with the setup that you set with your Glorious Ardra, being able to give you those face-up traps to then just be returned to the hand to summon out your Fierce Parth. And then the big play is obviously to use those monsters to be able to set up your Argostars Adventurous Orion on the field for you to use with those level 4 monsters. For the rest of the main deck monsters, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and then the 3 effect failures, just the hand trap lineup to use with our additional infinite impermanence trap spot as well. If you wanted to mix around some of them, you could try Fualos or any of the other Mulcharmies in the spot for effect failure, but more or less just a budget lineup depending on what you want to run for those hand traps. For the spells, running 3 copies of Argostars Giant Slaying. You add 1 Argostars monster from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, if a continuous trap is in your monster zone, or a continuous trap with an effect that special summons itself as a monster is in your spell and trap zone, you can normal summon 1 warrior monster. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 2 cards on the field, including an Argostars continuous trap you control, and return them to the hand. You can only use 1 Argostars Giant Slaying effect per turn, and only once that turn, but giving you the added option of the bounce back effect to then reuse your Argostars cards, but also a search and setup for the additional normal summon of that monster as well. Gives you setup for the different Argostars monsters to then in turn give you the setup for your continuous traps as well, depending on which one you summoned out. And 3 copies of the field spell, Argostars Home Stadium. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to add 1 Argostars card from your graveyard or banishment to your hand. Each time a continuous trap in the spell and trap card zone is special summon to your field, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. And once per turn, if a continuous trap activates effects in the monster zone while you have a banished Argostars monster, you can banish 1 face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of this turn. So then having the added play for your banished Argostar monster to give you the added play of your opponent's cards for negating the face-up card your opponent controls using this field spell, but also being able to give you that inflicted burn damage to use against your opponent as well. And then the rest of the spells, 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army, just for the fact that it searches out our 2 go-to monsters in the deck also, and also the 3 copies of Pond of Extravagance, just for more draw power in the deck to set up more and more of the traps into our hand. And there's a good number of cards in the extract that can just be banished off of this card, which we run multiple copies for a good number of them, so betters our odds to not banish every single copy we need for our plays. And then for the traps, 2 copies of Argostars Lightning to Do. While it's face up in the spell and trap card zone, warrior monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card to special summon this card as an effect monster. Warrior level 4 with 2000 attack and defense with the following effect. It's still treated as a trap. Then you can add 1 Argostars card from your deck to your hand, except for Lightning to Do. And once per turn, quick effect, you can place this card face up in your spell and trap card zone. So just being able to respond back to placing this card in the spell and trap card zone while setting up more of a search option for your other Argostars cards as well from your hand, except for this card. Also, the 2 copies of Argostars Slayer Yugioh for having the protection of your warrior monsters by card effects while this card is face up in the spell and trap card zone, and having the special summon of this card, another level 4 with 800 attack and defense. And with this card, if you have a banished Argostar monster, you can turn 1 card on the field to the hand, and once per turn quick effect, you can place this card face up in your spell and trap card zone, which they all share with that added setup using the spell, no, not spells, traps. These are obviously continuous traps. And then the last one being Argostar Swift Capane for the warrior monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. It's a one of just because it's a more specific setup, which can be set up with other cards like Glorious Ardra, just having that setup, and then the additional option for gaining life points with the play of another level 4 monster on the field as well. And if you have a banished Argostar monster, you gain 500 life points when you summon out this card. The additional continuous traps include the 2 copies of Silo Hat Trick, the 2 copies of Tiki Piece, the 2 copies of the Apophis of the Swamp Deity, and then the 1 copy of Angel Statue Azuroon, which there is the additional Destruction continuous trap, which if you wanted to run in the deck as well, you can just drop down 1 copy of the Apophis of the Swamp Deity for the additional add of that continuous trap for the lineup as well. And then also for the rest of the traps, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, and then the 3 copies of Solemn Strike, just so you have a more guaranteed reaction with a counter trap to your opponent's play, and then the additional trap as well to use also. If you want to run any of the Dominance cards, you can try them out. We have mostly the Earth lineup for our cards and Fire, so just know which one to run for this specific spot instead of Solemn Strike. But if you're more of a budget lineup, you can always go for the Solemn Strike lineup instead. For the extra deck, we're running 2 copies of Argostars Adventurous Orion with this card once per turn. You can also exceed summon Argostars Adventurous Orion by using 1 Argostars monster you control, transferring its materials to this card. So with this card, using an Argostars monster, and with this card for the transfer, if it succeeds summon, you can add 1 Argostars spell from your deck to your hand, and during the standby phase, you can detach 2 materials from this card to place up to 3 Argostars continuous traps from your graveyard face up in your spell and trap card zone. So this is great as more of a late game option to then reuse those additional Argostar cards, setting up all 3 of the different Argostars continuous traps to then be using those monsters for that added setup as well for the Xyz play by setting up those additional traps for you to be able to summon out again as well. You need the 2 detaches for that, so remember that. You could go into the additional overlay for your Argostars card, but being able to use the added play for the search of your Argostar spell is the main one to go into, because then it's just if this card is Xyz summon, it can give you access to those spells. And then also the 1 Eclipse Twins, the 1 Castel, the 1 Gaga Cowboy, the 1 Dugaris, the 1 Exciton Knight, and then the 2 copies of Tornado Dragon, because we do have the Pot of Extravagance lineup to use in the deck for our Xyz monsters. Additionally, the 1 Silo Hat Rabbit, which if you want to run an additional copy of this, just drop down the copy of Nightmare Cerberus for a 2nd copy of this card, the SP Little Knight, along with the 2 Nightmare Unicorn, and the 1 Access Code Talker to finish off the extra deck and the lineup as well, just for the fact that we needed plenty of Pot of Extravagance targets to be able to banish also. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, once again, our main go-to monster, Argostars Glorious Ardra, can help to set up a good majority of our plays as well. If this card is normal summon, not only can your opponent not activate in response to our continuous traps for this turn, but being able to also banish this card you control to place 2 Argostars continuous traps with different names from your hand and or deck face up in your spell and trap card zone, which then, depending on which ones you want to go for, you can go for your Lightning to Do, and then your Slayer Yugioh as well. Being able able to then discard one card to special summon this card as an effect monster. And then having the activate effect for Slayer Ateo. That's the one thing you have to remember to resolve with the activate effect for this card. For the summon, you can also go for the additional setup of your Swift Capane for this specific spot, because then you could just discard the one additional card from your hand to summon out your Lightning to Do. Swift Capane will just special summon since you have the other trap, and then since you use the Banish to set both these cards up, you can overlay the 2 level 4 monsters into your Adventurous Orion for the additional detach for this card. But when it's Xyz summon, you can get your additional search and setup for your spell of choice. So whether you want to add Home Stadium or your Giant Slaying, depending on the play you want to go for. Giant Slaying will at least be able to get you the additional Argostars monster, being the Fierce Parth, to your hand for the summon as well. And then having the additional detach too to place up to 3 Argostars cards from your graveyard, which you'll have that additional setup. So if you were able to discard one of them as the cost for the Lightning to Do, makes all the better for the detach to then use the Xyz monster to then reset up those traps in your spell and trap card zone. But that is it for the DAC profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I completely forgot that Adventurous Orion came out in the Duelist Advanced set. I could have swore it was Alliance Insight, but we had the Fierce Parth as the card released in that booster set. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.